It is my great pleasure to welcome Karen England.
Thank you. All right, timer's going. Well, thank you. I think that was a long way to say I'm a troublemaker, and happy to be that, so I'll stand in the gap. So this is a new book I discovered at the wonderful house I'm staying at, and I thought I would open with a quote from Reagan that I know the first part because I hear it all the time, but the rest of it was news to me. So this is Ronald Reagan. Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. I'm old, let me take these off. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. Or one day we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was like in the United States when we were once free. And isn't that what happened this last election? And how merciful our God was in the election, and we are not deserving of it. So, but our work has just begun. It didn't end on that day. So I'm going to talk about the sexualization of our kids, some parental rights, what it means with the president being elected. And I'm going to give you another warning, because in a little bit I'm going to play some testimony of me before the Tennessee legislature about a book that happens to be in Grants Pass. And every person in this room should be outraged. It's in your tax dollars bought this, and you should be doing everything to get it out. So let's start my presentation. So I never knew talking about sex as a Christian when I became a Christian at 30 that, whoa, I get to talk about sex. That would be my calling, but that is my calling. So if you want to join our email list, I'm making this. Yes, I have to make light of all of this because it's a very, very dark subject. So if you want, and we also have a sign up out there, I'll have this, but we do a lot of action alerts, email alerts. We are starting to segregate by state, so we will do some things for Oregon, and when something's happening at your school district level here, we'll send to this zip code here, and so you'll want to sign up for our emails. So I want to talk about President Trump and the great things that he's doing, from eliminating the Department of Education, and Bill talked about that at our first speaker today, and then the executive orders, like he did the executive orders on, the LGBTQ flags and DEI and all of that. President Trump can only do so much. The more it gets pushed to the local level, the more it's up to you and I in this room. School boards don't listen to anyone else tell you anything else. School boards have an incredible amount of power, on the curriculum and the policies that are being handed down to the school district level. And they need to be asserting that power. They are not supposed to be an extension of the administration. The National School Board Association, you are supposed to represent the beliefs and values of your community and represent the taxpayers and the citizens. That is the role of a school board, not the extension of the administration. You're there to represent the people. So this actually is perfect after that last speaker, because again, with the Department of Education, executive orders, when they do that executive order, I'm watching libs on TikTok, and it's like, oh, so-and-so in Kansas has a gay flag in their, classroom. Whoa, they need to lose federal funding. Well, two things. Schools only get between 10 and 14% of their funds are federal. And secondly, they're not in DC. Linda McMahon is not watching libs of TikTok seeing a flag in Peoria, Kansas, or Illinois, and calling up and saying, stop their funding. That isn't how it works. It takes us, when something's being violated, taking pictures, filing complaints, etc. So it's going to mean that if you think there's a deep state in DC, just wait till you start going after your school board. It's powerful, and the left is very organized. So where did all this come from? So communist goals from the Communist Manifesto. eliminate all laws governing obscenity by calling that censorship in violation of free speech and free press. Then number 25, oh, sorry, I'm gonna make sure my timing. 25, break down cultural standards of morality by promoting pornography and obscenity in books, magazines, motion pictures, radio, and TV. We're there, are we not? It's in our classrooms, it's being celebrated. So a couple of things on how we got here. So years ago when there were obscenity laws that were passed, there were over 40 states that went in and said, we're gonna have some exemptions for obscenity. And the exemptions were for public schools, libraries, and universities. So what is deemed obscene or harmful to a minor that if I gave someone in the park, depending on what it was in our code, I would be guilty of a misdemeanor or a felony, depending on where I'm at, if I gave it to a child. But if you get to them in school, there's an exemption. That's why our public libraries are so bad. They're exempt from obscenity laws. Does that make sense to you that what you would show in a boardroom would get you fired, sexual harassment claims? So they did that, but just because there's an exemption doesn't mean they have to have that there. So we can challenge this agenda. This is a poll we did 2 years ago, a Rasmussen poll. You can get it on our website. You can also get it on Rasmussen, where we polled. The public is with us. If we didn't understand after this election the public is with us, I mean, it was so nice to wake up and go, oh, I knew I was normal. I knew, after the election that eventually everyone would get on board. But look at these numbers. These were really specific questions nationwide. Voters, 69% believe that books containing explicit depictions of sex acts, including homosexual sex, should not be present in public high school libraries. That's 70% for high school. Okay, this is we the people. Don't believe it's the other groomers. Okay, so we have a porn problem in our schools, and I'm gonna make the case for it. So you're gonna see a couple of things up here. Close your eyes if you don't wanna see it, and then I'm gonna give you a fair warning before I play the testimony. I used to be one of those moms that poo-pooed all the moms that cared about I was like, oh, who cares, one book in school. Those moms are weird, I'm fighting sex ed, CRT, all of that. That was honestly me. I can be a little annoying at times, ask my family. And that was just kind of my attitude till I saw how deep and wide it was. And just this week, there was a video of a gal named Megan, who's now 17, but at 14 was introduced during COVID to a book and literature and became addicted to the erotica and the porn in it. And I can tell you that I am running into, and especially female girls, more and more that are getting addicted to porn based on reading. So in addition to not just in the library, these 4 books are commonly assigned in freshman English class. As a matter of fact, when I'm working with school boards, and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna be able to get rid of these books. And I'm like, well, these 4, they're gonna fight you on because they like to assign them to our 14-year-olds to read. So those are all classics. But we have the power. We have the power. And this is not anything that Trump can fix. He can't do an executive order, even if I used to be against executive orders, now I'm loving them every day I'm waking up. I'll be the first to say, I've kind of flip-flopped on that. But he can't do an executive order, and here's why. Years ago, there was a US Supreme Court case. So the US Supreme Court case is what everything is governed by, okay? And the US Supreme Court case was a very specific case on the removal of books in a public school library, okay? So the state law can't change the Supreme Court ruling, a federal law can't, and an executive order can't. So this case is what governed and lower cases are adhering to. And what it says there's 3 takeaways from it. One is that you can remove things that are pervasively vulgar or educationally unsuitable. Yes, both of those are vague. Yes, both of those are going to be different depending on if you're in Alabama or Salem or wherever. It also said that it's the school boards and the administrators that make that decision, not the librarian, not the little committee that they all like to assign and keep in quiet and secret. That's what the law says. It also says that you can't impede on a student's right and that you cannot remove a book just because of a certain viewpoint or an idea expressed. So you can't just do it because it's got a gay marriage in it, because supposedly marriage is legal. So you can't get rid of it just because of that. Now, a book like Genderqueer, you can't get rid of it because it's LGBTQ, but you can get rid of it because it's showing naked sex acts. I don't care if it's boy on boy, girl on girl. It shouldn't be there. So we are launching a new site, which I'm going to be able to show a little bit of it to you guys. I'm just checking my time right now to make sure, and I've got plenty of time. So we have a new site launching, and that's where I'm gonna give a little preview for you guys. This is gonna be it. We're gonna show you our beta. We've gone from a year and a half. We had about 5% of the 13,000 school districts covered. And can you press that for me and then click on Oregon? Let's just go down the Oregon. Yes, I am 18. Here's what it looks like. We have all of the schools listed. Here's Oregon. You can look up Grants Pass. You can look up your school district. You can click on it. Click on anything on a high school. Let's go to Grants Pass High. There we go. All right, scroll down. Let's go to. Again, we're still finishing this, so all these pictures will be up. Okay, let's go to Beloved. Click on Beloved. There's 3 copies at Grants Pass. There's an excerpt from Beloved. Just a little excerpt, just for your enjoyment. You can view the PDF. Let's view the PDF. Welcome to you too. So here's a PDF of all the pervasively vulgar portions in the book. So when you go to challenge a book, I buy the books so you don't have to. We hate having to purchase the books, but we make it really easy for you to show visually, it's in Grants Pass, it's in this book, these are the excerpts from it, and if he were to go back, you don't need to click on it because I've redone it, but we have a legally written challenge for each and every book, according to the PICO case. It's pervasively vulgar. I have a fan club. So we have a policy, and this is why I'm going to kind of address us locally here. Because there are some really bad books in both Grants Pass and Three Rivers. Well, they're all over. Let me say, I heard Bill earlier today, our first speaker, talk about how, could someone get me a water? Because please. Actually, there's one probably in my purse right there. Okay. Talking about, how, thank you. You're welcome. The Department of Ed, thank you. Gosh, I'm not going to be able to go home after being treated this well. I'm telling my husband. So, red states, I live in Tennessee. We have a state law against this stuff. My school district is one of the worst. We're in a red county, in a red state right outside of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Okay? So it's not a red or a blue thing. The left have come in to schools, whether you're in a red state or blue state. What you guys have going for you is that your people aren't complacent. in a red state, Texas. Texas is awful, and they had all these laws that passed on books. I was just in Texas testifying in Allen, Texas a month ago. Florida, because library books are governed differently than they don't legislate, they don't go through education committees, they don't approve textbooks. Florida, with a great governor, has some of the worst books. So that's kind of giving you an idea of what's out there. And I'm telling you that they want to destroy our kids, destroy the family, destroy the church, to destroy the country. And they are using sex to do it. And they're using our kids and our tax dollars. And that makes us complicit. So, a couple of books I want to talk about, because you've got someone that, this is in both, it's called Tricks. Nice title. This is in both Grants Pass and it's in Three Rivers. But it was recently challenged for the pervasive vulgarity. And I'm going to read when the secret committee, after they met for several months in secret, it's basically the same groomers that think this book is really good for 14-year-olds. They say, Tricks by Ellen came, thank you for bringing it to our attention. After thorough review, the Reconsideration Committee, which again is secret, has determined the book will remain in the Illinois Valley High School and the Three Rivers District. The committee carefully evaluated Tricks. While we recognize the book addresses mature themes, it provides valuable literary and educational merit by depicting the challenges faced by young people. Which, by the way, our challenges address that right up front. And we say, hey, you may think this, but it's never okay to expose 14-year-olds to sexually explicit. Those people are never on the right side of history. So I'm just going to, you know what, I'm going to do a couple of sentences at the beginning, then the middle, and then the end of the book. And then you tell me if this is good for our 14-year-olds and if they made a good decision there. Here. Oh, let's see. Oh. I even got hard, especially when Janet touched me, dropped onto her knees, lowered my zipper. I could go on and on and on that one. I'm not going to. Me here, I'll touch you there, in my very slim book of adolescent sexual escapades, but nothing more. I had no idea what I would do beyond that. When I slipped into my fantasies, I always had sex with men, but that day overwhelmed as I had desire for Lauren. Now we're up on page almost 300. Not one passage. It's the theme of the book. When you first told me you were a virgin, I didn't believe you. Not at all. Not a lot of those around, you know. The truth is, I totally wanted to pop your cherry. I'm sure there are people sitting in this audience right now that are disgusted, and you might get some complaints, and I apologize that I read this. You should be more disgusted that your tax dollars have purchased this, and that's why I read it. That's why I read it. I understand it's controversial. When we send out emails, we always put a warning, and I always get stuff back from people saying, you know, please don't send this stuff out. If you didn't see it, you wouldn't believe it. We're going to do question and answer.
That was mild.
Oh, no, I know it's mild. Well, and I will tell you, there's a lot of men in the room, and I want to be sensitive to them, although women are getting addicted more and more. I want to be sensitive to not... It's much worse, and just wait, because I have a video I'm going to show you. And then we're going to do some question and answer. So I'm going to ask him to prepare the video. It's 2 minutes. He'll cut it off. It's my testimony before the... You need to leave if you feel like this is going to be a stumbling block, please do. It's a book that's in Grants Pass as we speak. I testified. This is still in a Nashville high school. This book is at my house. Book was approved for a class in Reno, Nevada. This is me testifying before the Nashville legislature 3 years ago. So go ahead.
Make sure your mic's on, identify yourself correctly, and you have 2 minutes. You would just put everything in that 2-minute package.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair and Committee. My name is Karen England. I'm the President of Parental Rights Council. And I listened to a lot of testimony on this bill in committees, and I was really quite shocked at the last committee where the head of the Library Association said emphatically that there is no porn or obscene material in any school library in Tennessee. And so with your permission, Mr. Chair, I'd like to read something that is sitting in the current Nashville High School library.
Yeah, we have a rule that you can't have a plot, but you can read it, just don't hold it up.
Oh, okay.
But you can read it.
Yes, and forgive me, I am a modest Christian woman, but this is in a national high school. Anal sex intercourse, butt fucking, ass love, backdoor action. What is it? How do I do it? Anal sex is entering the anus and rectum for social satisfaction for both parties. If you're using toys or dildos for anal sex, be sure the object has a flared base that is a good deal larger than the anus. Although things can get lost inside the vagina, they can inside the rectum. It then goes on to talk about pretty much distributing child porn. It talks about sex and tech talk and how you can film yourself on a camera, anything that you want to do on a camera. It then gives you all the pros to our high school students of doing this on camera. You can provide creative ways to explore and express your sexuality. It can increase sexual confidence. It poses no risk of pregnancy, so therefore it's probably a good thing to do. And it is a way of making your own erotica or pornography. This is clearly pornography and obscene, and we need to have a process where parents can get this out of the school. I think it's great.
That's good. I think I made my point. That's in Grants Pass, y'all. There is no excuse for that book, and any school board member or administrator that defends that for 14-year-olds does not need to be around children. So if we aren't, now let me tell you the other thing, looked up the book while we were sitting here, it's checked out by one of our lovely students. Now, if we aren't going to protect their hearts and minds, who is going to do it? Who is going to do it? You see, you've got people in here that are writing challenges and saying, hey, get this smut out, get this smut out. And the committee is coming back and putting it in. So I want to encourage you to get active locally, and I'll work with you. Our organization is allied with Alliance Defending Freedom, if you're familiar with ADF, and I guess you're familiar with them for a case here. But we also work with all sorts of other nonprofits. And we wrote a policy. Currently, most school districts, 99.99, have the policy that the American Library Association wants you to have. And it goes something like this. Okay, complain to the principal, and then the principal will put together a committee, and then the committee is gonna meet, and then the committee is gonna come back with this letter that says this is actually all pretty good. And by then, 3 or 4 months have passed, and it's summer, and your kid is going on to another grade, or it's leaked, and so you're the book banner mom. And then, you don't want to fight anymore. That's why you call me in, and I'll come read at school board meetings for you. I don't mind taking the arrows, because I know what it's like. I got involved when our oldest, he was in 9th grade, and it was tough, and it was tough on him when we got involved. So I'm happy to take the arrows. But that's the policy. And it's made to be very cumbersome for that reason. So we created a policy actually after the Tennessee law. ADF, as well as the Reisman Institute, has approved it, and they helped us write it. So I can get letters to your school board. If they're going to adopt it, I can get a legal letter sent. We also had it passed in Chino. Is anyone familiar with Pastor Jack Hibbs, Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills? Okay, so we brought this policy forward. At the time, it was a 3-2 school board. They had a majority. They are now a 5-0 school board. 4 of the members go to Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills. So he flipped that school board. It took several years, but that church got very active. So when it was 3-2, we brought the policy forward and we read. And I went down and I strategically, whenever I do this, I never bring the LGBTQ books because that is not what I'm going after. I bring the books, you read from them, you say exactly what school they're in, you get up and you read. We did it with 10 different books, white heterosexual graphic rape scenes. At the end of it, one of the progressives turns to the board president, Sonia Shaw, and says, Sonia, are these in our school? Because this is a problem.
No kidding.
But the other side was getting up and saying, oh, they just want to ban books. They don't, they're crazy right-wingers, Project 2025, yeah, I wish, no, I'm busy writing 2026. So they just were going crazy. But none of the books that we were talking about had anything to do with that. Because the media picks up on all that stuff. And at the board meeting, actually the LA Times, and you can go on my Instagram and see it, LA Times asked me, aren't you the lady that brought that policy to ban books? You want to ban books? And I just literally, it just started to roll off my tongue. No, what I want to do is have books that are pervasively vulgar. Like when they talk about butt fucking and he just did not know what to do. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, are you okay with that? Yeah. Well, and he didn't know what to do because that is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about Charlotte's Web. I'm not trying to ban classic books. As a matter of fact, you can't even find the classics in these schools. So anyway, so our policy, which we got passed, and let's see, they brought it up, and then 2 weeks later, they brought it up, talked about it, 2 weeks later brought it up, voted to pass it, and these books are being removed in an unbelievably quick fashion as parents are challenging them. I wrote 27 challenges for the parents, submitted them. Every single one of the books was removed. Now, not without a little behind-the-scenes fight with the school board president. A few of them, the classics, they wanted, Looking for Alaska, all the teachers really wanted to keep it. And they said, okay, fine, then we'll finish following our policy because this is what the policy says. So when a library book, again, we're only talking library books. This is not curriculum, this is not anything else. Library books. When a library book is challenged for its sexual content, it immediately goes off the shelf, and the board can put it back within 45 days. You don't have to wait 45 days, it could be the next school board meeting. If the teachers are, they really want it back, then they go before the school board and say, we want this, and the school board gets to decide whether Tricks or that other book or Looking for Alaska goes back in the school. And that's how it should be done. The people that we elect, they're held accountable for our tax dollars that are supposed to represent our community and our values, whatever those are. San Francisco may have a whole different set of books they want to have. Go ahead, have them. But in the school district I live in, we don't want our tax dollars sexualizing our kids. And I have to tell you that more and more frequently, these books are being assigned in freshman English class. 2 years ago, Clarksville High School, Clarksville, Tennessee, the assignment was to read one of the banned books and do your essay on why this is bad that these book banners like your mom and dad are on these books. Of course, we got wind of it. We did a blast email. They pulled the lesson. But this is going on everywhere. That's Clarksville, Tennessee 2 years ago, you guys. Red County, red state. It's happening everywhere.
It's evil.
And it is. And I'm not even talking about our website does have the elementary school books and the ones. Did everyone see? We did an email, the Kohl's Cares book that had the parade, but they had naked bodies and they had balloons in front of the body parts. And this is a book that's all over elementary schools. There's another book, and it's in Oregon, called The Big Bathhouse. And what the left will tell you is that this book is about Asian culture. But we're not in Asia, and when I open up a picture book as a kindergartner and I see naked adults and children page after page in a big pool, again, the book is called Big Bathhouse, what am I telling my American 4, 5, 6-year-old? This stuff is everywhere, you guys, and it's up to us to fix it, to change it. And our organization, I love traveling, I love coming here. We will help you. I do Zoom calls with different groups all the time. I can arrange, like I said, to get a legal letter sent about the policy being legal. You know, the left will throw a fit. You know, even in reading this, you know, mumbo jumbo anyway, it's just full of untruths. So you need to take these and challenge these. First of all, you need to do a public records request, find out who was on that committee. Let's find out who was on these committees, and I'll help you file them. And then you take this to the school board, and you say, school board, you decide. The law gives you the ultimate authority. You tell me if this book is going to stay or not. You tell the rest of the public. You go back and tell your friends, your neighbors, and those at the grocery store, or your pastor. Get your youth pastors involved to come speak on this and how our kids are being sexualized. So with that happy news, I'm going to open it up for some questions, and I think I have time to get everybody, because we'll go here because he went here, then we're going to go here, then there, and then yes.
They're exploiting these books with all this information. So why not find out who is allowing these books and exploit them in a small community, and let everybody in the community know who these people are that are allowing these books?
Well, I'm all for that. Here's the thing. A lot of the books push The Bluest Eye. A lot of these books have been around for 20 years. So I don't know how far back you would be able to get your public records request on who purchased it. Now, I will say some of them, there's this author is in every single school. This author, and then there's a gal named Sarah J. Maas. These authors are in there's not a high school that I've not seen their books in. And so people think they're really good books, and they have awards on them, and all of, am I in trouble?
No, I was just going to question.
Oh. Wouldn't be the first time. So these books are everywhere, and they have awards, and half the time I don't believe they necessarily know they're that bad. But I posted one of the Sarah J. Maas books, and when you look at a cover, you'll know that book, because they're everywhere. They're very bright. So I posted it, and my nephew, I wrote something about it being pornographic, and my nephew from Colorado, who is not a Christian, good kid, 35, he said, all I read are fantasy books, what is it called? Anyway, and he said, that was too erotic for me to read. And I was like, are you teasing your auntie? I thought maybe he was teasing me, like, oh, you stuffy church lady. And he was like, no, I couldn't read them. Well, then how are our kids reading them, and how are our tax dollars paying for it? So I will help, and I'm meeting with some people, I don't know, someone gave me the time that I'm meeting with some people to help come up with a strategic plan here in this community, which will include doing some public records requests to show the costs of these books, as well as to find out who's on the committee and who is supporting this, and who's for it and who's not. And then, yes, sir. Did you vote for Biden?
You don't want to know what I voted him to do. But, it seems to me that we should be doing a lot more proactively. I mean, I haven't been to a movie where they didn't have a rating on that movie. And as you've read out the examples each and every time, I'm envisioning the category that they would fall in if they were rated by the same standards the movies are rated in. The PG-13, PG, G, 18 plus only, mature TV or whatever. Why are these books on the shelf in the first place? They should be going through a rating system
Yes.
just as the movies do. And if a child steps up in a school that's like kindergarten through 8th grade, they say, okay, you're not 13 plus, you can't have that
Right.
book. Or
Well,
you
that's,
can't be plus.
yes, that would be nice, and we do have legislation in several states to get rid of the obscenity exemption, and I can't tell you how hard it is to get even Republicans to stand up and vote against the obscenity exemption. So
It's a system that already exists.
but it doesn't for books, and motion picture is different. But here's a couple of things, because it's not that I disagree, and there's a really good website out there that does rate books. Our website is specifically designed to get certain books removed from the school, and if it meets pervasively vulgar, that's the only threshold we care about, whether it's a 3, 4, 5, it doesn't belong in the schools. And so that's what we have chosen to do. But we also have a policy, a model policy that Alliance Defending Freedom helped write about books coming in, because you do have to keep it from coming in, but that's what your school board can do. Again, you're not going to change that in Salem, in a blue state. As a matter of fact, I was on my way here like 2 days ago. I got a call in Reno, Carson City, Nevada, and they want to make it harder to get rid of books. They want to, it's a stupid bill that the progressives brought, but there's this tension. Well, you guys have one here in Oregon too, that as far as the books go. And what I recommend is you go to that committee hearing and you work with me and you read a book, a passage from each member sitting up there on the education committee from their middle school and high school, and read it and make them vote to keep that book. Over here. Oh, sorry.
I am wondering if you've looked at how we could eviscerate the American Library Association, and are they getting funding? Are they getting government funding? This is supposedly an NGO, right? A 501c3 or something. How do we get them out of being the main influencer on the public schools?
That's a very good question. We are working on it, and we are hopeful with this next administration. There have been several states that have done away with their association with the ALA, but that's where a lot of it is coming from. And even in their own numbers, every year they do the banned book week, and even in their own numbers, when you go look at their statistics, they will tell you that people are fighting this based on obscenity, sexual reasons. It's like they know why parents are objecting, and they're still mad we're objecting. Again, if adults want to read this, go read it. But not with our kids and our tax dollars. That's where I draw the line. So we do need to get rid of the ALA, and we need to start exposing them more, because again, the only time I was in the newspaper as a kid was doing the little cards in my catalog in Boulder, Colorado at my little high school. And the library used to be a safe place for us. It's just not safe anymore. Yes?
So I'm wondering...
Did I make you mad? I told you that I might make you mad today.
Oh, no.
Oh.
You weren't.
Okay.
So I'm wondering how you uncovered that these books were in these school libraries, and is a list of every book existent in the public school libraries, is there a list of that that is public?
Okay, most school districts use an organization or a service, and Grants Pass and Three Rivers uses a group called Destiny Follett. And so you can go look on there at any time and look up your school, and you can go through all the books. So there are several lists. What we did as an organization was took the list from all the groups across the nation and came up with a list that we used, which is about 310 books. And one of the big things is for about a year and a half, 2 years, we did this by hand. We had 130 volunteers that would look up the books, put it on a spreadsheet, all of this stuff. We'd get it online. We have written a program and have our own website that it culls everything in real time. So like I literally just got the grants passed. I got this the week before I got here. So that's what is going on right now. And then in the meantime, staff, we're trying to get our pictures up there. And then those PDFs, I mean, it takes those PDFs take a long time. And right now I'm the only one on my staff doing it just because it is so dark and anyway, so it's very time consuming. But we have been working with a web developer, and we are hoping to continue. We've got to write 3 more programs because there's 3 other organizations, and like the Department of Defense has a lot of really bad books, and the Department of Defense just switched their organization. So again, we're trying to stay on top of it, and we're doing the best we can, and we will be updating it regularly, but. We've got microphones, and I got in trouble already. Yes.
So, a question about county and city libraries, just regular, not school, but regular ones. And I've been, and first of all, there's one in Joe City County, and it's kind of a joke because there's a whole bunch of really questionable books there. I went to find a business book, and couldn't even find a business book on how to start a business. So crazy. But I've also been in city libraries like. Glendale, for instance, and they seem to have a policy that anybody, a kid at any age can go in and look at books. There's no bottom age, and there's some weird books in there. There's a lot of like dark, kind of, there's a lot of gothic stuff out there now, and it's witchcraft.
Well, and that's why your library board is really important, and you can kind of do the same thing. You can go to your library board, you can appeal to them. This idea that every single book needs to be in a library, I just did a tour in DC. I got to go on the congressional tour with a friend of mine who's the wife of a congressman, and we got to go to the Library of Congress. 25% of the books are not in the Library of Congress. They're actually given away to other countries or other nonprofits. So not even the Library of Congress has every single book. So this idea that our schools have to have every single book is ridiculous. Okay, one more, and then I think we'll...
Yeah, Karen, real quick, part of the question I thought I heard was, can we find out what's in our libraries? And it took quite a while. Nancy Reese from the Three Rivers School Board had to ask the superintendent for several months to get a list of the books that were in the library. Finally, he gave us access to a digital port to look up and see all the books alphabetically that are in our library so we can cross-reference against the problem books. And I believe Grand Pass District 7 will tell you what's in their libraries right now.
Okay.
The list or access to the list. And you can compare that against the list of problem books and find out which problem books are actually in our school libraries.
That's perfect, and I will tell you the bill I testified on in Nashville, it is on a website for every school in Tennessee, has a list of every book that they have. And so, and if you want to share those with me too, I'm happy to cross-reference them with my master list. So, thank you very much. I apologize for the language. Sorry.
Good to know. Thank you, dear.